Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8:01 a.m. You are listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. First of all, you made it. It's Friday. We made it collectively to the weekend. It feels really good. It's really nice outside, by the way, as well. The sun is shining fully. However, the heat is nowhere near oppressive or overwhelming. If you go outside, even with a long denim jacket, that's a nice jacket.
Thank you.
That's a really nice jacket.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you got a denim jacket on, or if you got your your official City of Aurora long sleeve on, like I do, you'll feel good. It won't be too hot for you. But we have a fantastic show for you guys today. We're going to talk a lot about mental health. We're also going to talk about resources. Who knows? We might even talk about food saving the world and all of the above. My guest today is recent Aurora Regional Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Award winner, Regina of Compassionate Edge. Hello there.
Hi.
How you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. So we have a lot to discuss. And is this your first time on a show?
This is my first time.
Okay, how's it feel?
I'm nervous.
Why? Why would you be? What's there to be nervous about? I mean, it's only live on Facebook for every human in the world to tune in and check out and see. Good morning to Brent Jimenez, Juan Cayetano. Good morning, folks. Wishing y'all a nice weekend. Thank you very much. Joe Jackson, morning, Brent and everyone else. And Aisha Saxon, good morning, Aurora. Good to see all of you great people. So what's coming up for the weekend? First of all, what do you have planned, and how are you entering the weekend? How do you feel today? How do you feel on the inside today?
Well, I am glad it's Friday. So thank God it's Friday. I'm feeling really good.
Truly TGIF, right?
Truly TGIF, yes. I am looking forward to spending some time in the office. I'm decorating my office this weekend.
Okay.
Yes. One of my good friends has created a design for the office suite, and I have purchased quite a few items, and I'm looking forward to putting things together.
Okay. What's the theme gonna be in the office?
Modern mid-century.
Modern mid-century. Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Is that a lot of black and white? Modern mid-century. Is that a New York-esque style? Is that a Paris-based kind of style? Is it more London-centric?
I'm not exactly sure. That's a really good question, but I know it's not black and white.
Okay.
So a lot of wood tones.
Okay.
Slender features when it comes to furniture.
Okay.
Tan sofa. My office is gray. So my colors, my logo
colors.
Talk
a little bit closer. There you go. Yeah.
My logo colors are blue, gray, teal gray. And so I have a lot of grays and teals and earth tone colors.
It seems like it'll sound and feel really really comfortable on the inside.
That's the goal. So that when people come into the office, they feel at home.
Okay.
They feel as if it's a safe place. It's not intimidating. It's relaxing. The furniture's and the design of the room and the furniture is where people can come in, and if they want, just lay on the sofa.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very cool. So tell us about Compassionate Edge. What is Compassionate Edge, and where and how did it start? The time is 8:05.
Okay, that's just a long story.
Oh Lord, here we go. Hold on, let me. Y'all ready for a long story? Look at them, the hearts. Just hit the like button.
It's a long story.
As most good stories are.
Yes, I'm really excited about my story. I started. Okay, I can talk about my faith on the show, can I?
Absolutely,
okay.
absolutely,
Great.
absolutely.
Great.
This is a faith-based program. Everybody can talk about their faith on the show.
Great. Well, Compassionate Edge is a private psychotherapy practice located in Aurora, right across the street from Fox Valley Mall.
Okay.
Macy's, to be exact. I We provide psychotherapy services to a variety of people, a variety of ages and backgrounds, dealing with those individuals dealing with depression, anxiety, family issues, marital issues, academic issues, college issues, a host of challenges. We work with individuals to help them to navigate that lifestyle.
Okay.
How it began, I have always heard from people that I should be somewhat of a therapist or a teacher. And initially I thought, that's not exactly what I want to do. I prefer to be in the classroom. And so some years ago, around 2013, I decided to quit a job. I was working for a nonprofit agency. I decided to quit. And I had no direction at that time. And a colleague of mine called me and asked me if I would see a client that she was working with. She felt as if this client would be ideal for me.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, I can give it a try. Let me give it a try. And I said to her, I have no location, and so I'm not exactly sure where you think I will see the client. She said, well, let me talk to my boss. I think I can get you a room within our suite. She was able to get a room within the suite, and I started seeing clients. One thing led to another, and I moved to the 75 Executive Drive building right off Fox Valley Mall, right.
Yep. Executive Drive is the one that goes all the way around, I believe.
It goes all the way around, yes. And the interesting story, this is how what's meant to be is meant to be. I didn't have a location, and I didn't know exactly where I was going to work, but I knew I need to find a new location. And I prayed about it. This was a Wednesday. I prayed about it and said, okay, God, this is what I have. This is what I need. What the clients need. I'm going to need a little help here. Thursday morning, I went in search of a location, and on Friday, I had found a location.
How about it? Okay.
That was the first time I had been in that building. And I don't know if you remember years ago, it used to be a parking lot that looked as if it was uninhibited, and so when I walked in there, I was totally
I know
surprised.
which one you're talking about, because there used to be a movie theater there.
Well, it's where the Foundry is. Remember
where
the Foundry is?
Yeah, it used to just be
just a parking lot.
Cracked concrete and nothing. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Holy cow.
So I walked in and I thought, wow, where have this building been?
Right.
And I found a one office suite on the 4th floor in 2014, and I've been there ever since.
Wow. Okay. So in 2014.
2014, yes.
Won't he do it?
He did.
Can we hit the clap button for that, my brother? Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. So I'm curious now. So it was Wednesday when you prayed about it.
Yes.
Friday it came to fruition. What, in a personal fashion, what did that feel like to have that fire burning? You were obviously passionate about doing this at first.
Yes.
But was there a renewed sense of either urgency, determination, or was there something else that really fired you up in that time that made you get it done?
It was a sense of urgency.
Okay.
I needed a location. I had been seeing clients, and I need to make sure, which is interesting, I need to make sure that there was no lapse in their service.
Okay.
So if I saw someone on a Wednesday, I need to make sure I had a place for them the next Wednesday. Now, I had just gotten started, so I didn't have a large clientele. So the good thing is that there was no lapse in service. It's not as if people came to the office and thought, oh, my gosh, she doesn't have her stuff together. I don't know if I can trust her as a therapist. I don't know if I can trust her as a professional. So I think that for me, it was the sense that what is meant to be will be. That God had, created a path for me to do what he wanted me to do. And you know how people say to you that if it's designed for you, it doesn't require much effort, that things just work out the way they're meant to work out?
I have heard, yes.
And so for me, it wasn't as if it didn't require any effort. It wasn't as if I had to stress over it, because things just fell in place.
Right.
They just fell into place. So it was a sense of satisfaction. It was a sense of relief. It was a sense of gratitude, much gratitude, and a confirmation. It was confirmation that I am on the path I should be on.
And that feels good. I know it does.
Really good.
I know it does, especially when you have, because the potential for something going wrong never stops. The potential for it falling through or not happening never stops. But when you do get those wins. You know, when you do have those moments where you're able to actually climb up the ladder of what you're trying to do, it really feels good, and it reinforces your faith, I'm sure, and it reinforces your spirit, your determination, your pride, and what you're doing. And those things do happen. Those things do come together.
They do come together.
You mentioned your clientele, though, was small when you first started.
Yes.
So you had a clientele.
I had one.
Well, that was a blessing right there. Yeah.
Yes.
How did you establish the clientele? And was that a difficult thing to do? Time is 8:11.
Okay.
And I'm gonna turn you like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That wasn't, I don't say this to sound pretentious, but it wasn't difficult. It was basically word of mouth and referrals.
Okay.
That's how the practice began to grow. And so it went from, I was a solo practitioner, and then I brought in someone that I had worked with prior to starting the practice. And I worked along with some interns from graduate programs. And now we are where we are now. We have about five employees and two independent contractors.
Okay. All right. Very good. You got the staff and everything. And the address?
75 Executive Drive, Suite 337 in Aurora, Illinois.
Okay. Yeah, that's close to the escape room I was telling you about. That's where we used to be. It used to be a place. So there's the Port of Perry Perry, the Port Perry Perry restaurant. We were right next door to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I remember.
Yes.
The escape room.
Yeah, we were right next door to it. Good morning, everybody out there. Good morning. Good to see you guys. We are here in the studio, relaxing. So I have some of the some information that I'm going to read about Compassionate Edge. Now, you guys on Instagram, you can follow Compassionate Edge on Instagram.
We are on Instagram.
Yep, at Compassionate Edge, just like it's spelt, both words. Did you know that laughter caused by humor triggers the release of endorphins, which helps to reduce stress levels? And there's some interesting stress busting tips. So in this place that we're at, there's a couple of stress balls around that I throw, and because there's nothing to break in here, not too bad. I throw them, try to catch them off the walls. I squeeze them, walk around and chill. But here's some stress busting tips, because I know a lot of you guys work in professional offices and you can't throw anything. So since you can't do that or walk around with your socks on at ComEd, I'm going to tell you some tips. Well, actually, you deliver them. Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed something. You got the light. You don't use the dark Instagram?
I don't know about that.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of one thing that released my stress. But enough about me.
I'm not technologically savvy, so I didn't know that was a feature.
Oh,
Okay. You have to teach me that
All right.
once we're done. Okay, so this
Got to talk a little closer.
a little closer, sorry. Yes, this is basically a template that allows you to check in with yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed. So, for example, today when I came in, you asked me, well, how do you feel? Well, I feel a little nervous. And one of the things I was doing inside of my head was while I was thinking about the fact that I'm feeling nervous, I asked myself, well, what am I looking forward to? Which is one of the tips here. What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to a natural, organic conversation.
Okay.
Just to talk about mental health, talk about the benefits of mental health, talk about Compassionate Edge, talk about myself, and do so with someone who's very interested in what I have to say.
Absolutely.
So, and telling myself this, it was able, granted the nerves, they're still, aroused or what have you, but I feel more relaxed now.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
So these are just some helpful hints of what you can ask yourself if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, especially because we know with stress, it's not something that just surface or is triggered during not so good times. You can be stressed when you're faced with something exciting as well.
Absolutely. Right. The pressure to produce.
The pressure to produce. That's right.
That's
pressure
right.
to perform. So here it is. I am performing now. And so am I setting healthy boundaries for myself? These are some helpful questions. What can I do to ground myself in the present moment?
Right. Absolutely.
So there's your stress ball, right?
The verbal stress ball, y'all. Yes. I like it.
So how can I bring more joy into my life today? And what you said to me earlier was that your show is all about bringing joy.
Yeah, it is.
To people's lives.
Absolutely.
Reminding them of the good things that exist.
Absolutely.
In our city, in our culture, in our society, that's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. And you know how this is, especially for the folks out there who have children too. As soon as you wake up, man, as soon as you wake up, you turn on the news. I grew up in a house where the news came on immediately. You look at the headlines. Tornado here, bus roll over there. And I take it very seriously. I just want people to receive good information and have the best positive hour that they can before you go into work and the rest of the day, So I like to, hopefully we can release some endorphins in all your brains, That's what we try to do. The thing about nervousness, though, and this show is that there's always been, and we haven't been able to really shake it off, there is an element of being nervous or anxious when it comes to having people on the air, and I've tried to assuage that fear with people in many different ways by having comfortable chairs, having water, not having the music blaring when folks come in, because I do try to really, I get it, I love it, but I get that people are nervous when they do come in. So we do try, and it does kind of bother me that we're not able to take it all away. We really can't. We can't. I meet you in front of a library. We're walking down a pathway that's very miscellaneous.
Yes.
The lights are off in the hallway.
Yes. I have to admit, I was thinking I'm walking into a scream moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that the goal is not to take away the nervousness. The goal is to learn to manage it and understand the function of that response. So when you're talking about pressure to perform, that's actually a good thing.
Right.
So I want to present myself in a way that represents you and what you have to offer. I want to represent myself and what I have to offer.
Right.
That's a good nervousness.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And plus, I think it shows that you're passionate and you care about what you're doing.
Absolutely. That's right.
If people, what do you want? Do you want a chef who's not trying to wow you with the food? I'm gonna just put a little pepper on it. Ain't nothing. No, you want a chef, who freshly cracked peppercorns.
Yes,
that's what you want.
That's right.
That's what you want.
Want a chef that looks into, look out into the restaurant and say, oh my gosh, there's so and so. I can't believe they're here at my restaurant.
Right.
You have to get, make a good impression.
Exactly. Send the singers over there. Happy birthday to you. I worked at Olive Garden when I was young. So
no, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. In high school, I worked at Olive Garden. It was an experience. It was really cool.
I was at Pizza Hut.
Really?
Yes.
Could you ever do that again?
No.
Me neither. The time is 8:19 a.m. Nora Peterson, our dear friend of Document the Abuse, says that you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay. Good morning to everyone. We're going to go to a quick commercial here. As I mentioned, there's two great events coming up that I do want to highlight for people. Youth Day, faith-based. Collier Community Center is hosting this. It's their 30th anniversary. Save the Youth. It's going to be at Martin Luther King Jr. Park tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The event's free, open to the public. It's going to be free food, donations, raffles, speakers, vendors, fellowship, and a whole lot more. So come on out, enjoy the day with our youth and families in the community. The sponsors, Sam's Club, City of Aurora, and Walmart. Shout out to and thank you to Fred and Angela Collier, great people who've been doing a lot for the community in regards to not only faith, but also just bringing people up, sharing resources, all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, I've seen them doing it, handing you the plate of food and making sure you got the backpack with all the supplies. Come on.
That's great.
Right? It's a great, absolutely wonderful. And then, so this isn't this weekend, but the next session of these is going to start taking place beginning on July 11th through the 13th. And these are summer camps at Mutual Ground. Mutual Ground is located at 418 Oak Avenue here in Aurora. The activities are going to be martial arts, exploring reptiles, story time, arts and crafts, and even outdoor games. For more information, you can contact Kim Allen at 630-320-3316. The number again is 630-320-3316. Am I showing myself compassion and grace for for my mistakes? Am I showing myself compassion and grace for my mistakes?
That's a really good question.
Showing myself more than just saying I'm sorry or I should have not done that? Am I showing myself compassion for my mistakes? What kind of concept is that? Making sure that I'm okay for my mistakes. It seems like I've accepted that I'm not a perfect human.
Exactly.
And I need to understand that and do better. Is that the...
Yes, and it's interesting that you say this. My next blog will be on self-compassion.
Okay.
And so if you guys are interested, check out our blog at www.compassionateedge.com. But you're absolutely right. I think self-compassion, if you think about it, if you think about compassion in general, I can say, Curtis, it seems as if you're struggling today.
Mm-hmm.
You may want to talk to someone. What do you think about talking to someone? And that is me acknowledging, right, that you have, that you're struggling, and me offering words of advice. But when it comes to ourselves, we're not as compassionate.
Right.
And so when we're struggling, we may not reach out for help because we may fear that someone's going to think that we have issues that we can't control or see us as weak or incapable. But I think that we can say to ourselves, I am struggling, and yes, I do need help. And so my blog is on counseling and how seeking counseling can be an act of self-compassion.
How difficult, I'm sorry, if that was another thought, please go ahead. Because I was asking, how difficult is that for people to grasp? I mean, are you meeting people who've accepted that, or are you meeting people who rejected but just showed up because they're you know what I mean?
Yes.
Are you, and it's a serious topic. I was not trying to make fun of it, but it's like, are you having to pull teeth with people to get them to understand that, or are they willing to?
Well, I'm laughing because you're absolutely right. I think it depends on the stage or phase where someone is in their journey of healing or recovery. And sometimes it is like pulling teeth. But I think for some individuals, they may not be as aware of those processes that are challenging them. And some individuals are self-aware, more self-aware.
Right.
And so those who are aware and those who feel as if, I guess there's a sense of urgency, I have to do something. If I don't, I'm going to suffer. And I think those individuals perhaps are a little bit more inclined to just word vomit, if you will, just come there and just tell you everything. And for some people, if they're unsure, if they're not as aware or not as trusting of the process, they may not be as open.
Is there a difference in the openness between men and women? Is one more receptive and the other one less so?
I think if you think of it as culturally speaking, yes. Stereotypically, one may think that men are not as open. But I have to tell you, I've been doing this for years, and I've worked with nothing but men who are open to that process.
Okay.
I think it depends on the support. You have to understand women are typically, culturally speaking, we are one in which we emote more, right? And we do encourage each other to talk about things. And I don't necessarily know if that's always the case for guys. If you guys sit in a room and say, hey, man, it looks like you're struggling, I think you should reach out to a counselor.
No. I mean, it's happened a couple of times. I know some guys who do that. I've done it before. I haven't suggested a counselor to another friend, but I've definitely let them know that, like, I was able to talk to him if need be. Like, I've been more than able to do that. I think that I'm just going to speak with myself and my select group, but like, I've always been kind of more inclined to let the person know that I was able to help them, thinking and kind of feeling that if I told them that they should go seek help, then that would sound like I was kind of demeaning, like, yo, you need to go see some help, as opposed to like me saying, hey, man, if you need to, chop it up with somebody, I'm here. The way the two sounded to me was always like I should pick the latter, I should pick the latter as opposed to the former. Like I should let them know I could talk to them instead of suggesting something for them. So I've never suggested.
Well, there's still a stigma in some groups, right? That to seek counseling is indicative of one's, and I'm using this term loosely, but a person being crazy.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And in our culture, you don't air your dirty laundry.
No.
So whatever issues you have, you either take it to God or you take it to someone, a clergy within the church.
Right.
And while that is something that has helped many of us, I don't necessarily know if some of us have warmed up to the idea that seeking counseling is not about being crazy.
You know what? I think that it's become detrimental.
Oh, how so?
Because I think that the for generations we've been telling, right, we've been doing what our grandparents tell us to do, like
Right.
keep it in the house, and it's I don't know if that's been the greatest thing over the last 60 years. I just don't see when you completely tell people to keep it in the house or don't air your dirty laundry or don't let other people know what's going on, with the exception of the pastor who the family may know.
Mm-hmm.
That continuously breeds an isolationism, especially among a people where we've been not trying to be isolated.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and yes, it does appear that we can become more isolative and perhaps not as effective in helping people to deal with or manage their struggles. But I think if you think historically about the underlying reason as to why that was unnecessary, why it was necessary for people to have these conversations or to give this type of advice, culturally speaking, to appear as if you didn't have it all together was perhaps more detrimental. And
Sure.
so then for us, it was self-preservation. It
Right.
was self-preservation. If you think about my own family, we had a large family. So if you were to tell someone that, oh, so-and-so, Jeannie, that's my nickname, Jeannie is really struggling, then everyone has formed an opinion about Jeannie.
Right. Oh, Lord. Right.
And oh, we knew something was wrong with her. And in that regard, you didn't have as much support as you had criticism. And so I think that for my mom, it was important for us to appear as if we had it all together, because the consequences of not were great.
Yeah. Yeah. One could lose their job or not get
One
a
can lose
job.
their job.
Unwanted
Or even,
prying eyes and all kinds of things.
well,
All
even
kinds
when
of
we went to
things.
school as a person of color, when you went to school, you had to make sure you had everything together, because then something was wrong with that black family.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. See, I'm just thinking about my life, because my life is messed up. I started off going to Catholic school, and then I went to public school, and then so the whole thing, like the what's wrong with that family thing.
What's wrong with that family?
Right. First of all, my parents were divorced, and so that was a sin, right? And then it's
That
so
was a sin. That was a
and
sin.
it's
Right.
just like I don't know if it was good for me to know all that when I was 10. And that's so I do believe this is a really good topic. What time is this? 8:39.
8:39.
So you're definitely coming back for a part two,
Okay.
because I don't know. This is great. You're right, and I do think that one of the benefits to counseling, because I've been to counseling, I've sat and talked to many people. The benefit, I think, and this is kind of what I was trying to circle to about the anti-isolationism, is that I do think that there is a really big benefit to the person that you're airing to or talking to or explaining to not be a member of the family, not be a close. I believe in keeping things in the family knit, and the family unity is paramount.
Sacred.
Absolutely, and it should not be broken. One should definitely, sow into that field. But I do think that there is a really strong benefit.
Yes, there are many benefits to counseling, and there are many benefits to having representation among therapist.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
you're talking to someone who was born in the 70s. My very first professional counseling experience was not with a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
And so given all the things that I struggle with, do you really think I was capable of talking about those things with my very first non-person of color therapist?
No.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So the benefits is definitely understanding. And I'm not necessarily saying that, you have to have, a person of color. That's the only person that can help you. Just like, anyone can serve in a capacity of helping one overcome their challenges. But there are some benefits to having someone look like you.
Right.
Someone who understands, for example.
There is. Oh, you're making it warm in here.
So for me, when I first moved here from Madison, Wisconsin, I was newly married. I had a hard time navigating my society. I mean, my
World.
Because the suburbs here in Aurora, Naperville are unlike Madison, Wisconsin.
Really?
Unlike Madison, Wisconsin. So then there was this pressure that I should have kids. I didn't want to have kids. And I felt self-conscious about not wanting to have kids. And I was trying to navigate my relationship with my husband, so I sought out therapy. And one of the, I get chills talking about this. One of the things that she said to me that was the most liberating statement or advice that I have received is, what's wrong with you being you? If you don't want to have kids, if you don't want to fit into this mode, what is wrong with that? And I thought, you're absolutely right. There's nothing wrong with us.
Right.
I can be myself in this world. Now, it comes with its challenges. People looking at you with the side eye, what zip code do you live in? What school district do you live in? Mm-hmm. Do you have kids? And what are they doing? Yes, it came with its challenges, but I was so appreciative of her giving me permission to just be who I am. And not feel as if something was wrong with me because I did not fit that mode.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Do you think that you would have discovered that without therapy?
I honestly do not think, if I had to go back and do it over again and things ended up the same way, I don't think I would have.
Okay.
I don't think I would have. Not given my circumstances. That, her advice and her counsel and her listening ear and her support and compassion was everything I needed at that moment to get to where I am today.
You mentioned the suburbs being different, so that's the experience and the environment. I'm curious, so did that play a big part in why you had those pressures? So were those pressures exacerbated by the experience?
Well, it was culture shock because in Madison I had a community.
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of a close-knit community. Then when I moved here from Madison, Wisconsin, I was not a part of a close-knit community. Mm-hmm. It was an adjustment.
Okay.
And I had a hard time adjusting to a different environment in which I didn't have the type of support that I had in Madison. I had roommates that I had known for years. We had a small church that we were a part of. We had people who you can talk to about your challenges. Mm-hmm. When I moved here, I didn't have that. And in Madison, Wisconsin, because I had been there for years, I was accepted for who I was.
Right.
When I moved here, given the type of, the environment, there was an expectation to look, smell, taste a certain way. Mm. And I've always been a rebel to my core.
Right.
And it was challenging for me. So then what the counselor did was remind me of who I am authentically.
Right.
And once I was able to reclaim that, I was good.
The time is 8:35 a.m. That was a magnificent detail about the role and experience and an environment plays. I think a lot of people take for granted how much that affects a person's overall thought process, their well-being, their desire to want to do more in the community. If you don't feel like you're a part of it, why do anything?
Yes.
Why do anything? If you don't feel like you're a part of the community, why contribute to the community?
I think, and why contribute? I think the question is, what I have to offer, is it welcomed, appreciated,
There you go.
valued,
Right.
accepted?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Norman Peterson says this needs an extended version. Yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, you're right. So we'll talk about a part 2.
Okay.
We will talk about that. Michael Rayford is here. Michael Rayford says, as a culture, we have given some really bad habits. We've been given some really bad habits by our parents and grandparents, the other side of the coin. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Rayford. Time is 8:36. You were going to say something, Regina?
I think that is true. We have been given, as he says, some really bad, we developed some really bad habits. And while that is true, I just want to remind everyone that our parents were doing what they knew to do.
Sure.
They were surviving.
Sure.
And as a culture, as a people of color, we did what we had to do to survive.
Right.
And so some of the habits that we developed back then or had back then, we don't necessarily need now.
Right.
But during that time, it was necessary.
Yeah, I've been, as I told you, I have a son, and I have been, how should I say, there's been many situations where I approach the level of what I grew up with. Right.
It's a balance.
Yeah. Here's what I would have been told, or here's what would have been heard. But now it's 2023. Am I really gonna do that? Nah. I think I'll try something different. I think I'll try something different, depending on what it is.
We know spanking is not something that is something that kids experience to the same degree we experienced back then.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Right. Yeah. No. No. My son's never got a whooping like I got, or like we.
So yes, there was.
Can't do that no more.
I think that the fear that one of the things that when I talk to parents, some of the chronologically mature parents, some of the things that's hard for them adjust to is the idea that a kid expressing themselves is not a sign of disrespect.
Right.
When we were growing up, that was a sign of disrespect.
Right. Absolutely.
And so if you're carrying that mindset into today, you don't give your kid an opportunity to express themselves. And that's most important. And as you were saying, when we were younger, we needed to express ourselves.
Right.
We weren't given the opportunity to, because kids should be seen and not heard.
Right. Exactly.
And now kids want to be seen. They want to be heard.
Right.
And so parents will have to adapt their way of parenting and let go some of those rigid ways of parenting in order to create a safe environment for a kid to express their challenges.
Yeah, it was easy for me to do because I just started realizing, kind of like that moment of clairvoyance that the therapist that you had at that time gave you, which made you be like, oh yeah, right, bing. I just don't do the things that I didn't like. Soon as it rears its head, whatever the moment is, and I'm just like, yeah, this isn't even that big, right? Like whatever, my son wanted to, chief among them, the old going around the block and going further with the bike, and one day, like, he just pulled it on me. He just completely, right? He was going down. He got like halfway down the block. I was like, come on back. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, and he just was like, I want to go around.
What's wrong
and
with that?
I just shut up and just, right? Because I thought about the bigger picture. I can see through all the houses in my backyard. I can see the street. I can see everything. I can see him. When he comes this way, I can. So it took no more than, 42 seconds to not be a jerk of a parent and allow that little flower to bud a little bit better,
But I think that's one of the benefits of counseling as well, is when you are when you're struggling in that capacity. What should I allow that space? There's a lot of fear inherent in those decisions. And I think it's important to be able to talk about those things as a parent. We like to believe every parent wants the best for their kid, and your primary job is to protect your kid.
Right.
The way we go about protecting kids may look different from parent to parent.
Right.
So I think counseling can help parents, talk through some of those inherent fears, and then encourage them to understand that your way of parenting your child is, perhaps important depending on your environment.
Right.
So if you live in the suburbs, you can let your kid go 42 seconds past his boundary line.
Right.
If you live in a city, you're not
Can't
going to
do
let
that.
your kid go 42 seconds past his boundary line.
Absolutely not. Right. Josue Pais says sometimes it's hard to let them grow. Yeah, man, it is. He's a father himself. He knows that very, very much so. Becky Hoff is here, says, beautiful Friday, Aurora. Thank you, Becky. Time is 8:41 a.m. Josie Mendoza Geller is here. Juan Cayetano said hi to you. Tracy Duran. Everybody is here enjoying this great conversation. With all that I had to go through when I was younger, Tracy Duran says, I'm making sure that my daughter doesn't go through the same. She's always given the choice to make her decision and think for herself instead of the choices being forced on her when we try to see things from her viewpoint as a kid.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
So time is 8:41. What are some of the services that Compassionate Edge provides, and how can folks contact you if they're interested? And, what do you offer our Aurora folks here?
Well, we offer marital services,
Okay.
couples counseling, premarital counseling, individual counseling, family therapy.
Okay.
Right. I personally do a lot of work with stress management and anxiety.
Okay.
So that is my jam for individuals who are highly anxious and need some helpful tips as to how to calm themselves when they're in the midst of a storm. I have some therapists who work very well with the younger population.
Okay.
So we do a lot of work with teens. And if you're interested, just give us a call. Give us a call at 331-444-2618. Or send us an email at info@compassionateedge.com. We'll get you set up so that you can get started and working through some of the challenges and finding yourself on a healing journey.
Absolutely. That was well said. Time is 8:42. So Compassionate Edge began in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Take us to, in the time that we have, how did the pandemic affect what you're doing? How did the pandemic affect Compassionate Edge? How did you go through that, from the beginning and that when it started to rear its head?
I think that it was a challenge as for Compassionate Edge, as it was for many organizations. One of the major transition was from meeting people in the office to meeting people virtually.
Okay, right.
That was a challenge, I think, for individuals and a challenge for us. So when we're sitting face to face with one another, right, we're looking at nonverbal cues, you're picking up on nonverbal behavior, and meeting people virtually, you don't always have that opportunity.
Right. You don't even know what they're wearing.
And
is that a shirt or is that a sheet
so
over
I
his
think
shoulders?
Privacy. When you're in the office with someone, that is their private space.
Yep.
But when you're at home, it's not so private. So we had to learn how to work with individuals in their natural habitat, right? With the dogs and the kids and the cats and the cousins. So it was a challenge, but it did not affect our ability to serve people. In fact, our clientele grew. And I think just being at home all the time made people realize how stressed they were.
Yes.
And they needed to reach out for some support.
There were many articles written. I'm thinking about the Atlantic and the New York Times had fantastic articles. I read so much during the COVID period, talked about the rise in many things, including alcohol use, and different and abuse and different things, simply because people were at home now with their spouse, said other, or family all of the time. And I think what was interesting for me to notice about the period was that on the one hand, a lot of people got the therapeutic value out of not being on the wheel anymore, the rat race, the gerbil wheel, the gerbil wheel of life. You wake up, you go to work, catch the train, you do your job, sit in the cubicle, and that happens until you get your gold watch and retire. And then there was people who, and people wanted family during then. Now people have family and they're with them all the time and they can't stand it.
Well, I think what made it difficult is that during a pandemic, you were working while you were parenting. So when you are working in the office, all you're doing is working in the office. Your kids are at school.
Right.
So you're at home working. And now you're trying to make sure your kid is on the video doing their homework assignment.
Right.
And then you have to help them with their homework assignment.
Right.
So I don't think people had much of a break. Life
Right.
didn't necessarily slow down or ease up. It just became more chaotic to some degree, more stressful. And I think one of the other things is that when you were working from home, you became more accessible. So then that nice little long ride you had to the office where you get to chill on
Right.
the train
No
and
more
go
of
to
that.
sleep, no more of that.
You're right.
No more
Well,
of that.
you're right. You are right. Yeah. That was ended.
That ended. So then there's this constant stress. And, I always tell my clients, when you leave the office, you leave the office.
Right.
When you're at home, you have to create a space in which you are leaving the office. So that means if you're, create a space where you're working and at 5 o'clock, close the door, shut down the computer. Shut down the computer and then go be with your family.
Right.
As opposed to being connected all the time.
That connectivity too, which we've talked about with other guests too, I think has become as technology has gone on and we become more accessible and started to use it for different things. Why not give my kid a cell phone? I can contact him more. We've strengthened our connectivity to things other than family.
Absolutely.
And now it's at the point where it's like almost hard to break. It's like it's its own Frankenstein thing running around.
Yeah, try going to a restaurant and watching
Oh.
families.
Ain't it sad? Everybody on their
Everyone
phone.
is on the phone.
Only person who isn't is grandma, and y'all there for her birthday. Come on, you're right. You are right.
Yes.
You are so right. And the old school dude in me, especially like on a date, you see these people.
Oh,
Come on,
I know.
come on, y'all.
The dates.
Put the phone, brother. Put the phone down. And me, I'm a nosy person. Right, so I look over the shoulder, see what they doing. He on Snapchat with it, and it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, so that family time. I mean, those are some nostalgic things, I guess, we miss. Growing up, you ate at the dinner table with the family.
I remember those days. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There was no phone,
Nothing.
cell phone sitting at the table. There was no TV at the table.
Nope.
You never ate in the front room.
No.
Now, if you're an old school person of color, you better not put your plate in the front room. No. That's not where you eat.
Absolutely not.
So you had those moments where you can sit at the table. Now, we may not have been talking about much. We may have just been gossiping, not talking about our feelings.
Right.
But there was that sense of connectedness that I think is missing.
The time is 8:48 a.m. Michael Rayford has a question. He says, have you ever counseled on financial domestic abuse?
No, I have not. What do you mean by financial domestic abuse?
Yeah, I know. That's a good question.
That's a good
Financial domestic abuse. That sounds like somebody just mad. Like, yeah, he said he had a job, but, he playing Madden all day. I don't know what that means, financial domestic abuse. If you can let us know that in the chat, Michael.
Yes. Email me that question and give me some details.
Yeah, financial domestic abuse. I do know that, so our friend Norma Peterson she's the executive director of an organization called Document the Abuse. She works with the Kane County State's Attorney's Office. I do know that many stalkers or abusers in different ways will use financial means to control their partners and things like that. Take their car and car keys, take their money, only give them so much. So I don't, if that's something that you mean, Michael.
And if that's
controlling the finances, that's what Norma said. Yeah.
Yes, controlling the finances, yes.
Which is just an overall pattern of abuse.
Overall pattern of abuse, yes. And there are definitely services that work with individuals who find themselves in that situation.
Right. Cheryl Brownell is here. Good morning to you. Amy Dermott is here. Good morning, Amy. And Becky Hoff. Yeah, you got it. That's what Michael Rayford meant. Yeah, controlling the finances. Yeah. So before we end, I'm curious. As a person of faith, and as a person whose business has a definite faith to it, how can we as people, and as individuals. I know that there's not one magic button we can push to alleviate our fears, our anxieties, and all of our problems. But speak on the benefit that faith has provided for you in what you're doing and in your story and in your journey. Mm-hmm. And I want you to, I'd like you to mention that because we've had many people of faith who watch the show, and for the folks who contact us and everything, they've always had a trepidation about mentioning their faith. I've got emails where they're like, hey, I want to talk about this, but can I mention what Jesus has done in my life? It's like, yeah, I don't want people to think that they can't. Mm-hmm. So if you could please just talk about that, how that's been for you, and the role it's played and continues to play in your life.
That's a really good question. I remember I was talking to someone yesterday, and a parent, and she said to me that her daughter is struggling with self-identity. And she quoted a scripture, and I do believe, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Jeremiah 29. And it says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you, hope in a future. And I thought about, as she was telling me this, I thought to myself, oh my goodness. That is one scripture that we have, right? Quite a few people, myself included, have used to encourage people that we may not know the plans that are mapped out for us, but we know there are plans.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We may not know when, but we know there are plans.
Right.
And it's just waiting and seeing, waiting to see what comes of it. But I think what faith, for me, what makes faith paramount is how do you wait? How do you wait until? What are you doing in that waiting period? And who are you connecting with? And that's when I feel like my faith has been the strongest, is when I don't know what's going to happen. I have to draw closer to that source, that power, in order to wait well. And so I think that, when we talk about plans to prosper people, I don't know what tomorrow may bring. I don't know what 10 years may bring. And I know I have goals. But what I do know is what I can do today. And today, sitting here today, I can draw closer to that source of power and trust.
Remember that story I told you about trying to start using this studio? Mm-hmm. So before that happened, and I know this was that moment. This was my Wednesday going to Friday praying about it moment. I looking back with the benefit of hindsight now, where I grew up at, the only jobs that were really warehouse stock. In my younger years, I did warehouse forklift jobs. I did all of them. And when the pandemic came, and now I'm on unemployment, and life is terrible. If you recall, the job that was really hiring was Amazon, because if you remember, Amazon got many contracts to do PPP and
right
and all that. So the only jobs that were Amazon was hiring. And every day when I would record in the bathroom, I was recording in a bathroom, and I would sit. I've told this story before. I'd sit on the edge of the tub, close the toilet lid, and have my laptop here and my phone right here, and that wood thing, just like that. And I would talk into it. But when I would get done and when I would stand up, then I see my sink and the mirror was right there. So like every day after doing the show, right, I was happy for that hour. I'm doing what I wanted to do as a kid. But every day I'm looking in the mirror and like I'm broker than broke. Like I don't have a job. So like, right? And this is not, I'm happy, but then reality kicks back in. And every day I was looking at like just Amazon was the only thing hiring. But I couldn't bring myself to go back. I didn't want to go back. Like I can't do that. I came too far from the warehouse.
Wow.
I can't do that. And that's when I started sending those emails to, Nick, and being a problem. Well, they weren't, text messages. Like, calling them 9:00 at night. You up? Because I just knew, right? It was the weight. It was the weight. But what was I doing with the weight? And what was I trying to do? What was I trying to do? And that's when I think like it sucked so bad, but like you know, God made a way.
Yes.
God made a way. Like, why not? You know. So
Isn't that something?
yeah,
So you stood firm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. What's the scripture say? When we've done all that we can do, just stand.
Yep, absolutely.
Seems like that's what you did.
Yeah. So
Look at you now.
Yeah, and look at us now. You know, still ain't got no windows, but hey, we.
That's okay. You're bringing peace. You're bringing joy. You're bringing joy and good news to people.
Yeah, and plus it's a heck of a lot more less awkward than you know, sitting in my bathroom. All right, you sit on the sink. I'm gonna sit right here. Okay, Saul Olivas, good morning to you. The Prosper Aurora. Thank you, Becky Hoff. The very last question.
Mm-hmm.
How did it feel to win the Business Excellence Award that night?
Goodness.
How did that feel?
That's a feeling, I can't describe that feeling, to be quite honest with you. I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't think that I would win. There were a lot of, wonderful organizations that were in the same category as me. So I didn't necessarily think that I would win. And then when they called my name, I looked at my husband and said, wait, did they just call my name? Is this serious? I think what makes it so special is that it was based on, just your position in the community, what you've done to impact the community. And I am very proud of the work that we've done to impact our community. Now, granted, we're not always out there, but we do work with people in the community. And I've always believed that healthy individuals create healthy families create healthy communities. Healthy communities create a healthy society. So I think we're doing our part to create health in our community.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to you.
So I was very excited to have been recognized, especially May was Mental Health Month.
That's
Awareness
right.
Month.
That's right.
So to receive that award during that month was even more special.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And I appreciate it. I was the MC that night.
I know.
Thank you very much, Aurora Regional Chamber of Commerce, because that, again,
Yes.
comes around, right?
Yes.
It seems to hang on. Okay, Cindy Morales is here. Good morning. Aisha Saxon, our dear friend, says, thank you for this important conversation. Absolutely. I appreciated having this conversation. And Aisha, that we saw each other at the Juneteenth celebration, and that was a great celebration. And actually, that reminds me, we are going to take a brief moment right now. We're going to take a brief moment of silence. Alderwoman Shakita Hart Burns of the 7th Ward passed away on Juneteenth on Monday. So good morning, Aurora. We'll observe a brief moment of silence for Alderwoman Shakita Hart Burns. All right, the time is 8:59 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you guys really enjoyed this conversation as much as I enjoyed and we enjoyed having it. Please, if you are in any need emotionally, spiritually, please feel free to reach out to Compassionate Edge. Go on Instagram, check the page out. Compassionate Edge is just the name, and we will, when we make the description of this video, we will include the website, and folks can check out your blog as well.
Okay.
So this was a great conversation. I appreciate having it.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have met you.
Yes.
Glad to have met you. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend, a safe, blessed, and motivated weekend. We will see you guys Monday morning. Take care of yourself and each other.